Rewarding careers, experiences of a lifetime. Explore travel PT at aureusmedical.com. AUREUSmedical.com.
NPTE StudyCast.
Welcome to NPTE StudyCast. I'm Jimmy McKay, joined today by Will Crane. Will is a physical therapist and the founder of PT Final Exam, an organization that he founded in 2012, dedicated resource to helping you pass the NPTE exam. Will, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks so much, Jimmy. Always a pleasure to be with you. And yeah, really looking forward to talking about how to help your listeners pass the NPTE.
Yeah, that's what this podcast is really about, is mainly about the content, but we had come across each other when I was a mere Padawan learner in the world of trying to get through the NPTE and PT school. And talk just very briefly about PT Final Exam, why you founded it and what people can find when they come in contact with it.
PT Final Exam is really all about my experience on the NPTE. I think a lot of people share this, that as you enter into maybe the biggest exam of your life thus far, and perhaps even ever, I felt a little bit like our professors just didn't tell us all the mechanics of the test. I didn't know everything to expect. A lot of it's on me for not spending the time and effort to go and learn everything, but I had a lot of anxiety going into the test that after the fact, I realized that didn't have to be. Like, why do you need to have so much anxiety? Because it's just a test. This is what it looks like. This is how many questions there are. This is what they're testing you on. And so then I started writing about my experience and about how to make it more positive for others who came after me. And before long, people are asking to sign up for my course. That brings us here 7 years later. We're one of the premier NPT preparation courses online, double the content, half the price. We have a lot of fun doing it too.
Love it. Well, our website is ptfinalexam.com. I was not paid to say this, but I used the program to get past the NPTE when I graduated from PT school. So there we go. So I love getting to the basics. So we're going to do a several episode series, as we have most of the episodes here on NPTE StudyCast are brief, short, to the point, so you can get on with it. So let's go right from the start. What's the first topic we'll be talking about in this first episode of the series on the actual exam?
All right, so today I want to talk about how to sign up for the test. Now, this is something, again, that I wish someone had just outlined in my mind. Just say, okay, this is what it takes to sign up for the test. And there's a couple of steps, a couple of important things to remember. And it's important when you start with the end in mind, to understand where you're going with this whole process.
So as you're approaching this date, students start to figure out which test they're going to sit for, which test they're allowed to sit for. And once you pick it, what do you do first? Or what should you do first?
All right, so first step is just to be a good PT student. Obviously, you need to get through and make sure you learn something during PT school, because that's what's on the test. So Step one, remember something from PT school. Step two is when you get close to graduation date. Now, you need to check with your school, because each school has a different policy on their end. But the FSBPT allows students, or candidates, we'll call them NPT candidates, to take the board exam within 60 days of their graduation date. Now, not all schools allow you to do that. Some schools require that you graduate and then schedule you for your seat. So some schools allow you to test early, meaning that, let's say you graduate in May, they allow you to take the April test. And that, again, this is a school policy decision. So check with your school to see if you're even eligible to test earlier, if that's even something you want to do. Check with your school to make sure you have a good understanding of what your school's policy is on early testing, or if that's even an option.
Perfect. All right. So once you know the policy and which test you should be sitting for, and in terms of comfortability too, make sure you're comfortable with period beforehand in terms of preparing for it. Once you pick that date, what do you do? How do you sign up? What's the next step you should be taking?
So these next things you need to do at the same time is you need to apply for the test with FSBPT. That's the Federation of State Boards of Physical Therapy, or FSBPT.org. Essentially, you're just telling them that you want to take the test, and you're putting in your application all of your information to make sure that they have you in the system ready to go for test day. When you sign up on FSBPT and pay your fee, you're not signing up for the exam yet. You're just getting your application in. The other thing you do on the same day is you put in your state licensure application form. Now, again, each state has some slightly different variation of this, but essentially you go on the website, you find the PT license application form, which you then fill out, and you have to send in your state licensure application. To sign up on FSBPT, it's $485 as of January 1st, 2019, plus about $100 at your state level. Again, that fee varies, depends a little bit by state. And essentially what you're doing is you're submitting your credentials to the state. Now, the state is the end-all, be-all to determine who is eligible to practice in their state. So the state analyzes your application. They take a look at it and they say, okay, does this person meet the essential credentials in order to practice as a physical therapist in our state? Okay, yes, they do. So then they communicate directly to FSBPT and they say this candidate is eligible to sit for the test. FSBPT generates an authorization to test letter. Nowadays, they email that with this authorization to test number. This allows you to then schedule your appointment to take the test at a Prometric testing center. And this is another fee. You have to pay another $85 at the Prometric testing center in order to sit in their center and take the NPTE. And those are only given 4 days each year. So each quarter, January, April, July, and October is when they have, it's called fixed date testing, provide the NPTE on those 4 dates each year. I don't know, Jimmy, that make any sense to you?
Makes sense to me, and I do want to add this in just from experience, either with my classmates or people I know. If you skip one of those steps, let's say you register for your Prometric Center, but you haven't done the other steps, there's nobody you can call. You can't call one of your professors to kind of slide you in and get you past the front gate. If you haven't done the right procedures, you're not going to be able to take the test. So make sure you do these things in the right order.
Glad you mentioned that. So if you go to fsbpt.org, they have on their main page, you'll be able to see the dates and deadlines or essential dates and deadlines. It's over on the right column. You can see all dates. Essentially, you need to have all of your registration, everything done a little over a month before each test date. So about 6 weeks of lead time. You won't be able to register 3 weeks before the test and take it. That's just not going to happen.
If you're 1 day late, it doesn't matter. Even if you've been a great student, and you're a nice person, doesn't matter. You're going to have to wait another 3 months. All right, so once you're signed up, the state says you're okay, the school is given they're all right, that you are, in fact, a candidate in good standing, you've paid your fees, you've got your seat at the Prometric Center where you'll actually physically sit to take the test on a computer. What do we look at next?
Prometric testing centers, if you're in a big metropolitan area, there will be lots of seats at the Prometric testing center. If you're in a mid-sized or smaller level area, usually means you have to travel to get to the Prometric testing center, or that the Prometric centers are somewhat small. So for instance, the closest Prometric center to me has 5 seats available.
Wow.
If you're graduating in a class of, let's say, graduating class of 20 to 30, and there's only 5 of those Prometric seats available, it behooves you to be one of the first to get this all done. You get preference by doing it earlier. And so if there's some geographic consideration or you want to make sure to get it done ASAP, it behooves you to do so.
Seats are, in fact, limited for those Prometric centers.
Yes, very much so. So once you schedule your test date, then you'll be continuing the real fun, which is studying for the test. And we'll be talking about some of that here in some of these future episodes. But as far as the actual process, this whole process goes, so now remember, they will send you some information. Prometric will. They'll tell you exactly what you need in the form of identification. They'll tell you exactly when to arrive for your test appointment. I would just encourage you to be very mindful in your preparation for, okay, how long does it actually take to get to the testing center? What forms of ID do I absolutely have to have? So therefore, when I get to the testing center, there's no question. The Prometric, they send you all that. So it's not a big secret, but just be ready for all that.
In terms of how to actually get to the Prometric Center, it sounds like we're being too nitpicky, but making sure you know where it is, where you're going to park, how long it takes to get there. Are there tolls? You're going to have cash on you that morning. You want to alleviate all of the different things that might cause you stress or might cost you a few minutes on being late the morning of your test. So while it might sound we're being really nitpicky, pointing those things out, you don't want to have any added anxiety on test day.
Right. If you prepare well in all these little things, it helps take away anxiety for test day, just like you said.
In the show notes of this episode right now, we will include some hyperlinks to those websites that Will had mentioned during it. And as always, we'll create an infographic for you to go along with this episode. Any and all information about Will and PT Final Exam can be found online at ptfinalexam.com.
Download free study guides now at aureusmedical.com/NPTE StudyCast. aureusmedical.com/NPTE StudyCast. Rewarding careers, experiences of a lifetime. Explore travel PT at aureusmedical.com.
NPTE StudyCast. Brewed by the PT Pintcast.